You know, I already mentioned some of them. It shows consistency, and it shows the world what essentially we're doing and how we're getting them. Moving on quickly to the Chartered Risk Management Institute of Nigeria and some of the things we would see in the coming year. An institute like that also seeks to improve capacity development around ESG and around other topics of interest within the GRC space. So for members of the institute, forward to, and for non-members of the institute, I hope this encourages you to come on board with us. It is to read. So if you go on the climate clock on your phone right now or your tablet, you see that it progresses, and it has different indicators as well. So it just further emphasizes the need. And maybe I would share the link with the Morgans. I have 2 contents on the next slide, which you can use to calculate your own carbon footprint. What is my contribution?
Please, a round of applause. Thank you very much for that awesome presentation, Temitayo Oshobala. That was a very fantastic one. Lots of things to really digest in that 20 minutes. But I was going through that climate time machine, you know, and it was a very educative site. So you saw the sea level, I saw the global temperature, the ocean temperature, you know, and then it shows a graduated scale from, I think one was even tracing it from 1887 to where we are today. Thank you very much. I mean, we cannot take away sustainability development. Like she said, a lot of terminology. Some people use ESG, environmental, social governance. Generally, what we're talking about is a sustainable world. She also talked about conspiracies of climate change. Yes, one American president believes is a hoax. So, you know, so some people don't actually believe in climate change. That's the truth. But the truth is that we need to protect our Earth. And when she started her presentation, there was a slide she talked about, and if we continue at the level we are, we might need 2 Earths. And I was scared. I said, 2 Earths. Are we going to migrate from here to the second Earth? You know, but generally, sustainability is not what we can joke with again. And she mentioned a lot of bodies, even the ISSB. I've never heard of them before. I think you said it came up June 2023. So even financial reporting associations, even Nigeria too is taking it on board. It's not just about your profits as an organization again. Your people and the planet is also important. And I'm very sure the way the world is going to get to a level where as companies, as corporate organizations, you might not even be able to assess some benefits if you cannot demonstrate that your products or the way you run business is in a sustainable manner. We're getting to that level, and it's just a matter of time. And then she also talked about, which I really liked, as an individual working in the company. How do I feel? Well, I hope we're getting there in Africa, maybe abroad, but here, some people might not even bother that your company is working a lot in green investing and trying to make the environmental sustainable. But generally, as we increase the awareness, it's clear that as an employee working in an organization is, you know, green conscious. You will be proud that, yes, my company is engaging in this, or my company is doing this. There's this sense of pride in you. So a lot said, and I'm looking forward to the panel session where our speakers will have more time to you know, answer more questions. Please, another round of applause for her, please, in 20 minutes. Thank you very much. So we go to the next. Please, if you are just joining us, welcome. Welcome. You've not missed much. We're running through the program as fast as we can. The third speech, which is the keynote speaker 3. This will be taken by Mrs. Florence Abraham, who is a director at the Central Bank of Nigeria. Please, a round of applause for her. Thank you very much. Please keep clapping. Please keep clapping. Please keep clapping. Thank you very much, ma. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Florence Abraham. Thank you for having me here. And all protocols duly observed. What I see is that the conversation we're having today is such an intense one, and it's not something we can, complete in this discussion. It's something we'll continue to do. And I want to appreciate the Morgans and the able leadership of the team, Mr. Amosu, for this elaborate consideration, because when you look at the theme we are considering, corporate sustainability, due diligence, and connecting to accountability and the implications of the AI, we are looking at a future that cannot easily expire, and a generation, more generations, we are looking beyond today. And it's so elaborate. What I will try to do, I will try to plug in the gaps that have not been duly covered. I've put in 33 years in the CBN, and I just decided to take an early workout just a few days ago. And so I'm an ex-director as we speak. And so, well, I will walk through the slide, but sincerely, I'll be jumping. Let's go through the contents so I can answer some of the questions that maybe our AI man raised. Take me to my first slide introduction. Let me just... So good governance indeed is very important. For a regulator, we don't play with good governance. It's not just having an effective government, but having an ethical management that entails accountability and due diligence. It cannot be separated from management of, from data management. The issue that bothers us much as regulators is data management. And AI has come in. We believe it will do a lot in that regard. So compliance makes the organization more profitable. Please move on the slides so people can follow. And because compliance makes the organization more reliable, more profitable, it also further assures, the continuity of the organization. When we talk about financial crime, there's need for continuous learning and relearning, which is what we are doing. Crimes around money is limitless. It's expanding every day. Money laundering is even a financial crime. And sometimes we are pushing the money laundering, and the predicate offenses that result in the money laundering has to do with these financial crimes. And so we need, continuous learning, and we need to move our organizations beyond, just making money. We have to ensure that we have methods we are using to ensure that our organization is not also used as a conduit for financial crime. So governance, risk, compliance, I would say, are those typical things that financial institutions have to bring on board to ensure that they have a framework to address and prevent financial crimes. Please move on the slide. Like I said, financial crimes are limitless, so you could see up to payroll schemes, billings, and theft, breaches, and all that, fraud, corruption, insider trading, and they're increasing every day. The list is increasing as AI comes in and as cyber, cyber security issues come on board. Please, next slide. Cryptocurrencies, so the crimes are increasing. And so this is a study by LexisNexis of the global cost of compliance, and it's on record that digital payments, cryptocurrencies, and AI technologies have also added to the level of fraud that we are experiencing in the globe today. So there's more increase. And the PwC also had this study that lots of this that come from insiders, 31%, and 43% from external people, and then the collaboration between the insider and the external person, you can see the percentage. Next slide, please. And so artificial intelligence, I want to add to what the first speaker has said. It's not just robotic. Every time we talk about artificial intelligence, we are always conscious of the robots. But I want to tell you there are so many other aspects of artificial intelligence which we are even using, and at times we are not able to identify. We talk about the machine languages. We talk about the natural language processing, text speeches and all that, and even the image, image recognition. So there are lots and lots of issues. Please, next slide. There are lots of aspects of artificial intelligence that we can all leverage on, and will go a long way to help us. Next slide, please. And so when we look at governance, I would still talk a little bit on governance. But the traditional approach to governance, risk, and compliance management has been, having them in silos. You have different softwares being used. You had this fragmentation, and then we have this compliance-driven focus. Ticking the boxes, regulatory boxes. We're expected to do this, and so you just keep ticking. And that's the traditional approach to governance, risk, and compliance management. We have this reactive approach using historical data that is not even considering, the risk that are emerging on a continuous basis. We do have limited focus on technology and inadequate data integration that makes it difficult to even spot the trends on financial crime, and often this results in incomplete and erroneous assessments. And so we're moving on to artificial intelligence, and we're looking at what it can do for us in our efforts of compliance. And so artificial intelligence is much more able to take us through risk assessment and productive analytics. AI has the potential to analyze a vast amount of data. Vast amount of data can be analyzed, from various sources, and helps to provide a more accurate and dynamic assessment of financial risk. And then it has potential for fraud detection and prevention. So AI can be used to, help us to spot out these payment frauds, insider deals, and money laundering through machine learning models. You can walk through historical data and continuously adapt to new fraud schemes. Please, let's keep going. And we have a lot of things that AI can do for us in compliance field and regulatory field. And so one of them is the anti-money laundering and the KYC. You know, AI can enhance ML processes by automating their analysis of customer transactions, monitoring for suspicious transactions, and, you know, even things like alerts, generating alerts that could prompt, you know, the compliance officer or the regulator to be, you know, that could arouse your suspicion, and you'll be able to probe the matter forward and further. You see that the KYC is also made easier, automating identity verification, risk assessment, and due diligence. In fact, because of time, we may not be able to go through all the slides, but if you see the complexities we have now around beneficial ownership and the regulations around beneficial ownership, identifying the beneficial owner of the transactions or the accounts or the businesses we are doing, it's some of them have complex, you know, relationships that needs to be deeply assessed. And at the level, at Nigerian level, we have the regulations even expecting you to identify foreign directors as many as, it doesn't matter the chain of relationship. And so the AI will be able to help organizations to quickly identify high-risk customers and also ensure compliance with regulatory requirements around these issues. Next slide, please. Okay, so how do we leverage on AI at governance, risk, and compliance? Regulatory compliance, like I've said before, is very key. AI will help to automate processes and make monitoring of these processes and interpretation of laws much more easier. AI is also going to help data analysis and reporting, and large data sets can be easily handled through AI. Like I said, at the regulatory level, the greatest concern is on data. If you have the right data, then you can be sure. But we always have issues around this. You are not sure of the information you are given, and it's what you are given that you work on. And so you see people blaming regulators when things go wrong. It's just what you see that you know. And we are wishing we can become spirits, so we know everything. But it's just not possible. And so you need a lot that can help us on data. Please move on to next slide. Behavioral analysis is very important. It's one of the things I would love to talk about on as implications of artificial intelligence. You know, compliance is about managing conduct risks also. Yes, because people do take unethical decisions, and what destroys businesses could just be a single man's decision or one wrong decision. And so artificial intelligence has an implication and helps us to identify behavioral activities, staff behavior, employee behavior. It can dictate unusual. There are times employees that are not supposed to have access to certain access begin to surf around. And so AI can easily spot who is trying to break into where he or she is not supposed to break in. And so it's able to monitor the behavior of staff. Please, next slide. And it can also help on scenario analysis and simulate various scenarios to assess the potential impact on an organization's financial well-being and compliance. It allows for better decision making. Okay, I'm moving. The slides are not moving along with me, please. Can you? And so there's also automation and workflow management that AI can assist. So if we automate our routine governance, risk, and compliance tasks, such as risk assessments, compliance checks, audit processes, reducing the need for mutual efforts, and improving of efficiency, AI can help us through this. And I was still going to be talking about this conduct risk. Yes, it makes it easier to dictate conducts, behaviors of people. It's very good. And even the training aspects of employees. The regulator has concerns, and I will just say a bit. So, like the first speaker was talking about the regulations around AI, yeah. If we look recently, EU has come up with a regulation as of June this year, the European Union AI Act 2023, though we are told is to take effect from January 2025. But it has come up as the first comprehensive regulation, on artificial intelligence. I just pick on a few issues. It isolates some unacceptable AI risks, something like cognitive behavior, behavioral manipulation of people. It wouldn't permit. Those are regulations that have come up around it, so you don't go and try to get AI that will, manipulate people's cognitive behavior. It's going to be illegal. Then social scoring, trying to classify people based on their behavior or based on their social economic status. It's not acceptable. And then real-time remote biometric identification systems, such as facial recognition. These are issues that are unacceptable. I mean, it has isolated unacceptable activities and also addressed the issues of social scoring and then real-time remote biometric identification systems. These are things that affect our governance, risk, and compliance management. Okay, I'll just talk a bit on, well, I think I'm managing my time well, so please take me back. So on corporate sustainability due diligence, everyone will expect our companies, our corporate businesses to be resilient organizations. And so we need to conduct our businesses to create sustainable long-term value for all stakeholders, shareholders, employees, consumers, and the society at large. And the earlier speaker had addressed the issues of the society. We need to make our businesses economically viable and then equitable. And so for due diligence, we need to take reasonable steps to ensure that we avoid committing offenses or violating regulations. And to drive accountability at the banks and other financial institutions level, the Central Bank of Nigeria has a personal liability, for officers who have violated or failed to comply. And so we do have the CBN-ML CFT Admin Sanctions Regulation 2018 that specify, personal liabilities. In addition to corporate liability, individuals do face liabilities for failing to, comply with regulations. It spans up to even board members do have personal liability. So if you're a board member of any bank, you should know that you have instances when you will be personally liable. Next slide, please. So a little more on governance risk. The aim of governance risk and compliance is to ensure that organizations reliably achieve their objectives and are able to address uncertainty and act with integrity. This is very important. The components there, the strategy, the processes, the technology, and the people. These are components that the company or the firm will have to, put in order to ensure that the business is run with acts of integrity and not unethically. Next slide, please. And so on the next slide, we just look at a few things. Under governance, you look at the statutory and regulatory issues that will make you have good governance. In Nigeria, we do have the Code of Corporate Governance 2018 that was generated by the FRC, the Financial Regulations Commission, right? So the FRC has a Code of Corporate Governance. The CBN also have Code of Corporate Governance post-consolidation for banks and other financial institutions. We also have the SEC Corporate Governance, and then we do have industry-specific regulatory, codes like the insurance, and we also have for pensions. And so whichever area we are working, we should be familiar with the Code of Corporate Governance regulating the industry we are operating on. And so other issues are on the standards, the policies, the contracts, and the commitments that the organization is making. And I would like to say this under sustainability, that when our organizations will need to also, have conversations with our supply chain, our subsidiaries, and when we are signing contracts with them, we need to be assured that they are, compliant with sustainability expectations. And then we have to put processes and procedures in place and controls. This will enable us to have good governance. And then we move on to risk management, risk assessment, risk scoring, monitoring, and analysis. These are things that will enable us manage our risk. You need to, before you can assess your risk, you need to, have access the entire organization, the products, what are the risks in your products, what are the risks in your delivery channels, what are the risks in, the customers you are working with. You have to assess this risk and then score the risk, categorize your customers. Are they high-risk customers? Because that will determine your level of monitoring and analysis. If you have high-risk customers, you will be expected to have much more ongoing monitoring to be able to prevent financial crimes that could emanate from those classes of customers. And so mitigation is also very key. You put on ground your mitigations for the risk you have assessed and the caliber of customers you're working with and the nature of your products and activities in your businesses. And then we talk about compliance, which is continuous monitoring, self-assessment, and audit and reporting. Please keep moving the slide. So governance on overall executive management, senior management will need to direct and control the organization. And then on risk management, all corporate AI is coming in to assist in this regard. Okay. And so these are things we can read up on our own. Please, next slide. Okay, so there's integration of capabilities to achieve principled performance. This governance, risk, and compliance is an integration of capabilities that will enable an organization to achieve principled performance. And so the acronym at the academic level was first, brought out in 2003 by Scott Mitchell in the international journal we can see there. So organizations will want to typically strengthen their security and the reliability of their IT equipments. And so these are governance that have to be put in place. You ensure compliance with IT regulations. So when we look at governance, risk, and compliance, there are specific areas you'll be looking at. You look at the IT area, you look at your strategy, and that is what we're saying here. So a typical example on the IT area is to strengthen the security and the reliability of those systems and also reduce the risk exposure and limit your exposure by enhancing more security around the IT operations and ensuring transparency and accountability. Next slide, please. Okay, these are some banks, some central banks that have utilized AIs. I may not want to take the time to go through them one by one, but the bottom line is that the central bank generally all over the world, they are wisely reluctant to hand over substantive control, to highly powerful algorithms and systems like AI. And so you see some select areas are being, used. Okay, so having said all this, I think we should be concluding. The few challenges that we have on this aspect of AI is the data privacy and security, the interpretability and explainability, the bias and the fairness, and then regulatory and legal challenges. And then the handle these things. And so there are new technologies, and RegTech is there for us to leverage on. And so you see that around the globe, there's concern over AI. Biden administration just issued an executive order on artificial intelligence early this month, and then many others. So AI, which was once a mere concept, is now an inflection point. Thank you for listening. And I will wait for your questions.
Please, a round of applause for our former director. Thank you, Ma. That was a very fantastic speech. It was too loaded. Thank you very much, Ma. We apologize for the short time we are giving to you for such a loaded topic. But I mean, you said a lot. You said a lot. But I mean, the key take for me is, you touched on sustainability.